Abraham Lincoln lived was a man that some say is the first truly American poet named Walt Whitman. This is his picture, one of them. And he wrote many, many poems for a long time, a lot of years. He lived long past Whitman's time, in Lincoln's time. But he loved Lincoln. During the Civil War, he acted as a nurse in the hospitals. And so he was with the soldiers when they died, many of them. And he heard their stories, and he wrote letters to their families. He never really met Abraham Lincoln, but he loved him and knew that he was doing a great thing for this country. So what we're going to do now is share with you the 4 poems that he wrote about Lincoln. And we have here the students from Zion. We have students from Zion and Lutheran who are going to do his 2 short poems that he wrote on the day when Lincoln was buried. Now, he wasn't in Springfield that day. He was in Washington or in New York, perhaps, where his home was in New York, but he spent a lot of time in Washington in the war years. And so on the 4th of May, he wrote these 2 short poems, thinking about Lincoln and thinking about the soldiers and thinking about what Lincoln had done for our country.
And soldiers, let us drape our war-worn weapons.
And each of music, soul, and heart and sovereigns. Our dear commander said,
No more for men's lives going conflicts, nor victory nor defeat, no more lives starving deaths. Charging our ceases clouds across the sky. But sing, poet, in our name.
Sing of the love we bore him, because you who build our names know it truly.
As they envelop the coffin, sing as they close the doors and breath upon him, one verse for the participants.
This was once the man, gentle, plain, just, and resolute, under whose cautious hand, against the foulest crime in history, known in any land or age, was saved the United States.
Abraham Lincoln died in April, and in April in Washington, D.C., the lilacs would be a little ahead of my lilac here, which only has 2 little flowers blooming out of my yard today. But he remembered that the lilacs blooming and the smell of the lilacs and at the time when Lincoln was shot. And so 6 months later or so, in the fall, he wrote 2 more poems. And I'm going to read just a part of the one called When the Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloom. It's a very long poem, so we decided not to read the whole thing. But I just want you to know that last night when I watched 2 different news programs, they quoted from this poem on the news programs as they were remembering that Lincoln had died 150 years ago. So, when lilacs last in the dooryard bloomed and the great star early drooped in the western sky in the night, I mourned and yet shall mourn with ever-returning spring, and the thought of him I love. O powerful western star, the shades of night, O moody, tearful night, a great star disappeared. The black murk that hides the star, O cruel hands that held me powerless, O helpless soul of me, a harsh surrounding cloud that will not free my soul. In the dooryard, fainting an old farmhouse near the whitewashed palings, stands the lilac bush, tall growing, with heart-shaped leaves of rich green, with many a painted blossom rising delicate, with the perfume strong that I love. With every leaf a miracle, and from this bush in the dooryard, with delicate colored blossoms and heart-shaped leaves of rich green, a sprig of its flower I bring. Over the breast of the spring, the land, amid cities, amid lanes and through old woods, where lately the violets peeped from the ground, spotting the gray debris, amid the grass and the fields, each side of the lanes, passing the endless grass, passing the yellow-speared wheat, every grain from its shroud in the dark brown fields uprisen, passing the apple tree, glows of white and pink in the orchards, carrying a corpse to where it shall rest in the grave. Night and day journeys a coffin, A coffin that passes through lanes and streets, through day and night, with the great cloud darkening the land, with the pomp of the in-looped flags, with the cities draped in black, with the show of the states themselves, as of crepe-veiled women standing, with processions long and winding, and the flambeaux of the night, with the countless torches lit, with the silent sea of faces, and with unbared heads, with the light waiting depot, the arriving coffin, and the somber faces, with dirges through the night, with the thousand voices rising strong and solemn, with all the mournful voices of the dirges poured around the coffin, the dim-lit churches and the shuddering organs where amid these you journey, with the tolling bells, perpetual clang. Here, coffin that slowly passes, I give you my sprig of lilac. Probably the most famous poem that Whitman ever wrote. Isn't exactly typical of him. This is more typical than the others that were read, but it is the most well known. And so the other older students from the grade school are going to do "Oh Captain, My Captain."
Okay, My Captain by Walt Whitman. Oh Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every wreck, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while all wise the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, whereon this deck my captain lies, fallen, cold and dead. Oh Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribbon wreaths, for you the shores are crowding, for you they call, the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear Father, the arm beneath your head, it is some dream that on the deck you fallen, cold and dead. My captain does not answer. His lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored, safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object one. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I, with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold, and dead.